So we're going to take some chalkboard tags that I saw at the Dollar Tree and an old Christmas card that I had from last year, and we're going to be using the writing on the inside as well as some parts of the outside. So we're just going to trace the inside words to fit on our tag, and then I'm just using some regular glue stick to glue it because these chalkboard tags are actually just paper. And then I took a pick that I had left over from last year. However, Hobby Lobby has their picks out now, so if you were wanting to recreate this, you could actually go get this now. And then I'm just going to glue some of the berries and some ribbon down onto the card. And you could leave it like that if you wanted to. For the Christmas tree ornament, we're going to add a little bit more to it from the front of the card. So we're going to take another chalkboard tag and we're going to trace around the car. I realized that when I was doing this that I traced it the wrong direction and ended up having to do it again because I wanted the car to be facing a different way. So just double check when you're doing that you have it in the direction that you want to do it. And then we're just going to cut that out and glue it on just like we did the inside of the card. I did take the hanger part of the chalkboard tag out, so then I'm just using scissors to poke a hole back through there and add that tag back on there. I didn't realize this entire part of this video was fast forwarded, so it's basically the same thing though. You're going to glue on the paper onto the tag and then attach the string part. I don't think that you actually have to have the string part for both pieces of paper. I attach them both back on, but I think one is all you really need because that's where you're going to hang it on the tree. And then I'm going to glue them together so that there are two tags and we're seeing part of the car and the words from the inside. Again, with the backwards part, when I was hanging this up, my words are opposite where I would rather have them be hanging the same way. So just when you're cutting out the card onto the tag, make sure you have it in the direction that you want it to go. I think this is so super cute, and I basically spent $1 on it because I had all of the other materials on hand. I'm going to take another chalkboard tag from the Dollar Tree. These are round ones, so they're going to look more like a Christmas bulb. And then I'm just taking some scrapbook paper that I had left over that came in a scrapbook pack from Hobby Lobby. They also have their scrapbook paper, 25 cents each, and they do have a lot of cute Christmas ones. So I'm going to take the paper and then I'm just going to trace around one of the circle bulbs on the paper because I want it to look like it's a bulb.
And then time almost came to a stop, but somehow I knew, and maybe something.
So I'm doing that same thing I did with the tag in the first project, and I had taken the string part off, so we're just using scissors and we're going back through the same hole that was on the chalkboard tag, and then we're going to put our string back in there and hang it with the string that it came with. So for the ribbon, I'm just tying a regular shoelace bow, and then I'm going to tie it at the top there, and I'm going to dovetail the ends of the ribbon. And to dovetail the ends of the ribbon, we're just going to fold the ribbon over and then cut diagonally, and it'll give you that high-end look.
We forgot what you came for.
So comment below and let me know, do you have a themed Christmas tree, or do you just have collected ornaments that you've given each other over the year? We have a tradition where we give each other a Christmas tree ornament every Christmas Eve, and we come up with a theme that we pick, and so our tree is full of all kinds of different ornaments that we've given each other, and it is like the most special thing that I do for Christmas is decorating my tree. So that is my most favorite part. let me know in the comments about your tree.
From this Christmas on, it's gonna be you and me decorating the tree. From this
This is so simple, but it is so cute, and I could see all kinds of different choices with all the different scrapbook paper. The sky is really the limit there. I picked up these round wood pieces at Hobby Lobby. I think with my coupon they ended up being like $2 for 4 of them. And then I'm going to use Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm just going to paint both sides of all 4 circles with the chalk paint.
Come and behold him, born the King.
So now that the circles are painted, and we're just going to take these scrapbook letters and they're stickers, and we're going to put them on these circles spelling out different words.
Come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing choirs of angels, sing in exultation.
Now the ornaments I saw at Hobby Lobby were just this. They had black lettering with white, kind of like a Ray Dunn inspired look, but I think these look too plain, so I'm going to go ahead and add a couple other elements to these. First I'm going to take some twine, and I'm going to make the hanger on the back, and I'm just going to use hot glue and then press that down. And then next I'm going to take a pick with some greenery and berries, and I'm just going to add that to the side of the piece of wood. I realized I probably should have added some Mod Podge to the front of these where the letters were before I started adding all the other parts to it, so make sure you don't skip that step if you're using stickers.
Father, now in flesh appearing, come let us.
I felt like these were still missing something, so I decided to take that same ribbon from before, and we're just going to tie shoelace bows again, and we're going to glue it to the front of the ornament.
Christ the Lord.
These turned out so cute, and they were so easy to make, and they would make a great craft for kids to do. And we're going to start off using this window cling sheet from the Dollar Tree, and then these ornaments actually came from Hobby Lobby, but they were half off, so the 6 ornaments together cost $2.50. And so we're just going to start out by painting these with some white Waverly chalk paint, and then using our antique wax to paint the top of the ornament, and then we're going to distress the entire ornament to give it the vintage look. So I wiped out my brush really good before I started doing the inside of the ornament, and then I'm going to go back and do the edges, and then just sort of bring those edges in so it's heavier distressed on the outside and not so much on the inside. And so now we are ready. We're going to take one of the window clings, and we're going to use some Mod Podge, and we're just going to Mod Podge our window cling onto our ornament. I was looking at my paintbrushes and I was thinking I really need to ask for new paintbrushes for Christmas this year. What is something on your wish list for Christmas this year? Let me know in the description box below. When you first put your window cling down, you have a little bit of room to kind of move it around before it dries in there. Once it dries, it's pretty stuck on there. So if you don't like the way that it is, you can reposition it, but you just have a limited time to do that. So after we get that one glued on, we're ready to kind of move on to the other ones, and we're going to make all 6 of these into ornaments, all using the window clings from this one set. So this mailbox one, I actually kind of pieced together. So I put the mailbox on, and then I decided some of the littler pieces of the holly need to go kind of around the top of the mailbox. So I kind of glue those together in a pattern that I like. You totally wouldn't have to do that. If you're looking at my ornament, you can see that some of this window cling is hanging off of the bottom. I don't cut it off right away. I leave it there until I'm ready with all 6 ornaments, because some of them have to be cut anyway. So I'm going to cut them all at the same time. So I'm ready to assemble the rest of the ornaments, and I just pick off some of the window clings that I like, and then I kind of pair them together and I get them all glued on there, and then we're ready for the next step. So once they're all glued on and they're dry, I'm ready to cut off the excess parts of the window cling. And so my reindeer, he's going to be missing his legs, but the reindeer ends up being my favorite ornament out of this whole group. But they don't have to be perfect. They're supposed to be vintage, so if you trim a little bit here and a little bit there, that's okay. That's what kind of gives it its quirky vintage feel. Now you could have totally trimmed these before you glued them onto the ornaments. I chose not to do that just because I wanted it to kind of be very flush with the ornament, but you could totally do it and then glue them on if you didn't want to cut around them after you put them on the ornament. So here's the final look of all of them, and I have to say these are some of my most favorite ornaments I have ever made. I did go ahead and add a jute bow to the reindeer. It was just a simple bow that I glued on, and I think it added such a high-end touch to these. But let me know in the description box which one of these ornaments was your favorite. And so we're going to take the tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue 3 of them together and then glue, so it's going to be 3 rows of 3. So all together you're going to glue 9 of the tower blocks together. And then I'm just using the exact same technique that I've used on all of the other projects today. I'm going to paint it with white Waverly chalk paint and then go over it with some of the antique wax. My blocks do not end up getting glued together quite like I wanted them to. There is a little bit of gap there. I decide later though, after I get the paint on and the window cling on, that I really like how it looks because it does still give it that vintage feel. So just be careful when you're gluing your blocks together. I wasn't looking on the other side, and that's where I ended up having these big gaps. So we're ready to glue our toy soldier on, and we're just using that same technique with the Mod Podge, and we're just going to glue him right in the middle of the tower blocks. And then there was one little bit of berries left, and we're just going to glue those berries over on top of his head. So to finish him up, we're just going to take some more of that jute twine, and I go ahead and glue a tiny bow, again a shoelace bow, onto the front of him, kind of where his where he's holding something. And then I'm going to use that same twine and I'm going to glue it on the back of the ornament for the hanger. So here is how he turned out. I think he's adorable, and So for all the ornaments today, I'm using these wood rounds that I got at Hobby Lobby. They come in a pack of 6. I covered this one with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint. Then I got a package of these little sticks, also from Hobby Lobby in the wood area. I covered them with some orange Waverly chalk paint, and now I'm adding some little dots with my tool from the Dollar Tree. And this is how the project turned out. I think he's adorable, super easy, and definitely something that anyone could make.
Let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I painted this wood round with my Cashew Waverly chalk as well, and then I picked up these little wooden beads also from Hobby Lobby. I had this fabric on hand. I believe it also came from Hobby Lobby, and I just cut a square of the fabric and I'm wrapping it around the top to give it the gnome hat, and then I just used the same hanger and put it through the hat. I'm using a mop from the Dollar Tree, and I just cut off one of the strands and then cut that strand in half, and I added that all around the wood round to give him a beard. once I have his beard on, I go ahead and trim it down a little bit, and then I'm using my ink from it's a distressing ink from the scrapbooking area, and I'm just going to go over his beard and the wood beads. And then this is how this project turned out. I think he is absolutely adorable, super simple and pretty quick to make. So for this wood round, I'm creating a gingerbread man. I painted him with some brown acrylic paint, and then I'm just adding the icing and eyes and mouth to the front of him. So I used some white acrylic paint to just paint a swirly top at the top of the round for his icing, and then I'm just creating some eyes. I went ahead and looked online for just a pattern for his face, drew it out on a piece of paper, and then had it next to me while I was painting. Now, I don't do a lot of freehand tool painting for her face, so I was really super excited with how mine turned out. There are several different faces that you could choose from. You could even stencil this on if you wanted to, if you weren't feeling super pumped or excited about freehanding this. But I think that he turns out absolutely adorable. So I just go ahead, I have some super thin brushes. Mine came from Walmart, but Hobby Lobby has some really nice options as well. Definitely invest in some really nice paintbrushes if you're going to do faces, because you really want the super thin paintbrushes. So now I'm adding his mouth, and I just give him an open mouth with a little bit of a smile. And then I'm going to go back in with some red acrylic paint. I'm going to give him a nose and a little tongue in his mouth. And then I'm going to go back with some white acrylic paint again and my little tool from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add some little dots on his cheeks. The one thing that I left out of this was some splatter. If you watch Country Charm with Tracy, she does a lot of splattering on her projects, and I think this guy would have benefited from some splatter on his face. But other than that, I'm super excited with how he turned out, and I was super excited with kind of my first attempt at a gingerbread face.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
So for this project, I went ahead and painted the round again with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint. Then I picked out some green buttons out of my Dollar Tree button container. They aren't all the same shades of green, and they aren't all the same size, but that's okay. That's what gives it the kind of charmy look. So I just went ahead and I glued them into a pattern of a triangle, obviously going from larger to smaller towards the top. Once I get all of the green buttons glued on, I took a couple brown buttons, glued them down at the bottom to give us a tree trunk, and then I decided our button tree needed a star, so I went ahead, picked out a yellow button, and glued that yellow button to the top of the tree. This is a super simple project. Definitely love how it turned out. You could make any shape you really wanted on here. You could do a star, I don't know, there's lots of choices here, and you know how much I love buttons. So anyway, once I have that all done, then this is the final look of this ornament. I think it's adorable. It definitely has a super fun charm.
Christmas times. We'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year
So for this wood round, I went ahead and again painted it with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and now I'm just going to freehand a snowflake. I am just using some brown acrylic paint, the same paint I used for the gingerbread's face, and I just go ahead and paint on a really simple snowflake shape. Now you could get as detailed as you wanted on here. I was going for simplicity, so I just kind of made like a big star, and then I added the end points to make it look more like a snowflake. Then I took some Mod Podge and I painted some Mod Podge all over the snowflake, and now I'm adding some glitter just to give it a little bit of sparkle and shine. And then this is the final look of this project. I think this is absolutely adorable and definitely has some rustic country charm.
Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
So for this project, I'm using that brown acrylic paint again to paint the bottom of the round, and then I took this Cashew by Waverly chalk paint and I'm just going to paint an oval here at the bottom. The oval is going to be our snowman because he is going to be looking up into the sky. So once I get the oval on, then I'm going to take some orange Waverly chalk paint and paint on his nose. It is going to be up straight into the sky because he's looking up, and if you can't tell, Kitty came to visit and he had to sit right in front of my project. My table is right in front of the window, which is his favorite spot, and so he thinks that he owns my craft space. So it definitely is his domain during the day. So once I get my nose painted on, I'm going to use my black acrylic paint and I'm just going to paint some little dots around by his nose to add for his mouth. I'm using the end of a paintbrush. I find that that works super fun and easy, but you can also use that little tool I had earlier in the video. I got that from the Dollar Tree, and it has different sizes for your dots, one on each end of the tool. Once I get those painted on, then I'm taking my Cashew Waverly chalk paint again and a small brush. I'm going to add one bigger snowflake at the top of his nose, and then I'm going to just add some little dots around the whole brown area to make it look like it is snowing. So I'm just using the end of this paintbrush. This is a super thin paintbrush, so it makes some really good dots. You want to make sure you have a steady hand if you're using the paintbrush part because it has a tendency to make strokes. So once I get all of the dots on, then this is the final look of this project, and I think that he is absolutely adorable.
Yeah, let's go outside.
These are the supplies that we're going to need for all three birdhouses. So I took these picture hangers from a picture hanger kit from the Dollar Tree, and I just screwed them into the top of all three birdhouses. And then we're going to paint the top and bottom of this birdhouse with white Waverly chalk paint, and then the inside of the birdhouse with the crimson Waverly chalk paint. So once you've completed that, we're going to take the hot glue gun and we're just going to put hot glue all over the top half of this birdhouse's roof, and then we're going to cover that with some of the fake snow. My fake snow came from Hobby Lobby, but they do sell this exact same snow at the Dollar Tree. So we're just going to put it all over the top where the glue is, and then we're going to do the other side the exact same way. I originally thought about using Mod Podge, but I didn't think it would stick on good enough, so that's why I decided to go with the hot glue. I let it sit on there for a little bit, and then I do go ahead and shake some of the excess off. So next we're going to take this pick that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. It was originally 99 cents, but because their Christmas stuff is half off, I only paid 50 cents for it. I think it's a great deal. These are super cute. You can cut them apart, which I do later on in this video, or you can keep them as a group. So I think that they are totally worth the 50 cents. So all we're going to do is glue it to one side of the roof of this birdhouse. And I forgot to mention earlier that these birdhouses did come from Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to go around the roof line with my hot glue and add some snow there, and then I'm going to go to the front of the birdhouse and go around some of the edges and add some snow there as well. When you're adding the snow onto the birdhouses, it can get kind of messy, so make sure you have a paper plate or something underneath you to catch the excess part so that it doesn't get all over you. So lastly, I decided it needs some dry brushing, and so I'm just wiping out my brush really well and then going over the white parts with some of the white Waverly chalk paint, and then I decided to add some snow right there in the front of the birdhouse. And here is the final look. I think it looks adorable, and I just love the simplicity and how Christmassy it looks. Project, we're going to take this birdhouse and paint the inside with the white Waverly chalk paint, and then we're going to paint the top and bottom of this birdhouse with the fern Waverly chalk paint. I hope you guys are loving the music today in the video. I just think the piano music is so relaxing and peaceful. Right, once we have that painted, we're just going to take one of these Dollar Tree garlands and we're going to snip off a little bit to make a wreath for the front of the birdhouse. And once I get it snipped off and make sure that it's going to make a good circle for a wreath, I just go ahead and give this a haircut to get rid of some of the greenery. Next, I'm taking one of those picks from the first birdhouse and I'm cutting that one apart, and I'm just going to use the pine cone from it. And I kind of play around with it a little bit, but I decided to go ahead and glue it onto the bottom of the birdhouse. Next, I'm going to take this pine cone berry pick that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to snip off about 3 little bunches of berries to glue onto the wreath that's on the front of the birdhouse. Next, I take my white Waverly chalk paint and I go over the green parts of the birdhouse as well as the wreath and the pine cone to give it a snowy look, and then I'm going to go back with my glue gun and put some hot glue on the rooftop and the bottom to add our snow. Here's the final look of project 2, and this one actually turned out to be my favorite project of the day. I think it is just absolutely adorable. All we're going to do is paint this birdhouse with white Waverly chalk paint over the entire birdhouse. Next, we're going to use the same technique that we used in the other DIYs, and we're going to take our hot glue and we're going to go over the base of the birdhouse and then the top of the birdhouse as well. And then using our fake snow, we're just going to put that all over where the hot glue is. So today's projects were inspired by some birdhouses that I saw on Pinterest, and they were all just white with some snowy glitter on them. And after I started getting into the project, I thought it would be more fun to have some farmhouse style birdhouses, and so that's why I decided to do them all kind of a different look but with the same kind of theme. Let me know in the comments below which one of these birdhouses is your favorite today. My favorite was the second one with the green and the little wreaths around the hole. So for the final touches of this birdhouse, we're just going to take some of the pieces of that pick we already cut up, glue it to the bottom, and add some snow to those pieces as well. Here's the final look of this birdhouse, and I think it turned out pretty elegant and beautiful. I like the simple touches of the pine cone down in the corner. Project, we're going to use some black construction paper, a bulb from the Dollar Tree, some ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and this Mickey Mouse scrapbooking punch that I have. And I'm just going to cut out a whole bunch of Mickey's heads, and then once I have those cut out, I'm just going to insert them into the bulb at the top. So today's video is part of the Mickey and Minnie DIY challenge that is put on by my lovely friend Crafty Leanie, and her co-host today is the Mug Life DIY. So if you haven't checked out their channels, I will link them down in the description box below. And I was actually on live with Crafty Leanie a few weeks ago, so if you missed that, go over and check out that video, and I will link that video down in my description box as well. So we are currently putting the little Mickey cutouts into the bulb, and now we're ready to add our ribbon. And this ribbon I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just making a simple bow and kind of using my hot glue to glue it together, and then I wrap some of that ribbon around the top of the bulb as well, and then I use the ribbon as a hanger as well. Simple. We're just going to use some simple things from the Dollar Tree. My pom-poms actually came from Hobby Lobby, but they have the exact same pom-poms in a smaller bag over at the Dollar Tree. So we're just going to use this lid to one of my vitamin bottles. I'm going to cut out 2 of his ears, and then I'm using a paper cutout, I think they're chalkboard tags or something, over at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut out these ears, and I'm going to glue them to the top of the chalkboard cutout to give it the Mickey Mouse look. I decided to go ahead and add one more of the chalkboard tags to the back as well to give it a more finished look so you don't see the back of the ears. So now we're ready for the bottom half of him, and I'm just cutting out a circle, the big circle chalkboard tag on the red paper, and then I cut that in half. And I'm still using my glue gun, and I just glue that onto the bottom, and I take 2 of the white pom-poms and I glue those down there at the bottom, and then I'm taking that same ribbon and I'm just making another simple bow using the same technique I made on the first one, gluing it together and gluing a pom-pom in the middle. Using the same supplies as last time, only we're going to use ribbon on the bottom half of Minnie instead of paper. So we're just cutting out the circles, gluing them to the chalkboard tags, gluing the chalkboard tag to the back to give it a more finished look, and then laying out the pieces of the ribbon to cover the bottom to give Minnie her dress. And then we're going to make a small little bow to glue at the top. So here are all 3 of the ornaments together, and I think they turned out really cute. These are really simple and could be made with kids or just anyone who is a Disney lover. So I have made a few rustic reindeers on my channel, but this one is definitely by far my favorite. So I am taking these sticks that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. They come in a really large pack, and I'm just going to glue 2 together on each side. I go ahead and glue them at a stagger so that the top part of the sticks are the reindeer's antlers. And then I'm going to glue a stick across the top and then a dab of glue down here at the V to hold his nose together. Then I took this big red button that came in one of my Dollar Tree button packs, and I'm going to glue that down at the bottom. Once I get that glued on, all I have left here is a hanger, and so I just decided to use twine. I go ahead and wrap it in the middle, tie a knot there, and then I go ahead and hot glue it to give it some stability, and then this project is done. I just can't even tell you how much I love this reindeer.
Let's go outside, the snow is falling down and every child is having so much fun. The snowman is twice the size as me with a smile.
So I have never done any clothespin crafts before, so I thought I'd try these out for some Christmas ornaments. All I did was remove the metal pieces from the clothespins, and I'm going to set those aside for a different project. And then I took some watered down brown acrylic paint that I created myself, and I just went ahead and painted it on. I also decided to go ahead and just put a whole bunch of them into the watered down paint. That seemed to work a lot faster, and it just works as a stain. So once I have them all stained and dried, I'm going to go ahead and glue them with the opposite sides together. It gives it this really fun shape, and so I went ahead and did that with all of the clothespins. So I used an entire pack. I didn't use the entire pack for this project, but I decided to go ahead and just make multiples of them. Then I took some of this ink, distressing ink that I got from Hobby Lobby. This is the black one. I think it's a tiny bit too dark for distressing an icicle, especially since my watered down paint was kind of light, but I do like how it turned out. So it's up to you how dark you want to go. But the pack that I got had several different types of distressing ink in it, so you could definitely do a lighter color if you choose to do a lighter color. So once I get all of the ink distressed on there, then I'm going to go ahead and take this crafting wire. I've had this wire in my stash for quite a long time. It was just like some scrapbooking wire, but any wire would do here. So I'm going just to kind of eyeball a piece of the wire, and then I'm going to use my wire cutters and cut it off. And then I'm going to wrap it around my icicle. So I wanted to give this like a rustic look. So I just pinch it real tight. I wrap it around a few times. And then I'm going to go ahead and curve it up at the top for the hanger.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times.
So for this project, we're sticking with our clothespins, and I had several of these left over. So we're going to create a snowflake. I'm going to take 6 of the glued together clothespins. So basically, because it's 2 pieces, that is 6 clothespins. They're just taken apart and glued opposite of each other. And then I'm going to glue them into my snowflake pattern. Now you can put these closer or farther apart depending on how you want your snowflake to look. I felt like it was more stable a little bit closer together, and I also think that if I made another one of these, I might try wood glue next time. I felt like the hot glue was a little bit hard to get it to stay as stable as I wanted. So once I have it glued together, I took one of these picks from the Dollar Tree and I cut it apart. I'm using one of the leaves of these holly leaves and a little bundle of the berries. I'm going to go ahead and glue it to our clothespins, and then I got these cute little buffalo check ribbons from the Dollar Tree. You get 4 in a pack. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down on the bottom, and then I'm going to add some more wire here at the top for the hanger. And then just to give it a little bit more stability, I decided to go ahead and glue a wood round piece that I had in my stash onto the back. That way I felt like the snowflake would not fall apart. And then once I did that, this is complete.
In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows in the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart.
Hi friends, are you enjoying today's video? I hope so. I had a lot of fun making these, and if you're enjoying it as much as I did, I hope you'll go down and hit the like button so my video can be seen by other people. So for this project, I'm going to use another one of those wood sticks that came in the bundle from Hobby Lobby. And then I had this like blonde, it reminds me of raffia, but it's not stringy like normal raffia. So I'm not sure if you're supposed to unwind this. This was in my stash and I'm pretty sure someone gave it to me. So I'm not even sure where you could get this, but you could use lots of different things here. You could use just regular sticks as well if you didn't have this kind of raffia. So I'm just cutting it into different sized lengths here because we're going to be making a tree, and so I just cut several different pieces until I'm happy with the tree size. Then I'm going to go ahead and start hot gluing them onto my piece of wood, and then I just glue them one at a time on here in the pattern that I had originally cut out. This is a super simple project. You could pretty much use anything you wanted here. I thought that this ornament really kind of reminded me of something that would go in a nativity, and so I don't know, I think this would look cute even if in like an actual nativity scene off to the side or in the back. I don't know, I was just getting those vibes. You guys let me know if you get the vibe from this as well, if you think it kind of looks nativity. I'm just going to go ahead and keep adding hot glue here. Now you can make this however big you want. You could even cut the sticks down if you didn't want it to be quite as big. But once I get all the pieces on, I'm going to go ahead and do some distressing again. I'm using that same ink pack. I think I picked it up for like $11.99 over in the scrapbooking area, and there is like 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them in the package, so I felt like it was a pretty good deal. And I'll list all of the colors and what it is down in the description box. So I took one of these wood stars that I also picked up at Hobby Lobby. I distressed it, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the top. Then I'm going to take a button, a little yellow button, and I'm going to glue that little yellow button into the middle of the wood star. I also took some of the same distressing ink and went around all the raffia pieces just to give it a little bit more distressed look. And then I'm going to take some actual raffia and I'm going to wrap that around the bottom just to give it one more little fun element, and then I go ahead and trim that off. I think the raffia is what really made me think this reminded me of nativity. But once I trim it, I'm gonna, like I said, add that little tiny button in the middle, and then this guy is complete.
Hands to keep each other warm while we stand and watch a choir performing all the Christmas songs that we love. Yeah, all the Christmas songs that we love. And in a while we're gonna go inside and drink our chocolate by the fire. 'Cause all I want is to spend this day with you. Let me give you.
I've really been loving my candy canes this year. I picked the plastic candy canes up at Hobby Lobby. They are over in the red and white section of their Christmas decor, and you get, I believe, 32 or 48. There's quite a few in the package, and they are 40% off. So I think it's a pretty good deal. I've made several things with them so far, and they're just super fun to work with. So this time, all I'm using is some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap the whole candy cane. I do go up the candy cane and I do come back down the candy cane with the twine because mine was pretty thin. So then I'm taking some of those holly leaves again from that same floral pick, and then I've had these in my stash for a while, but they are vase filler that came from Hobby Lobby. They were like frosted cranberries. I'm going to go ahead and glue one large one and two small ones, and then I took my favorite ribbon from Dollar Tree, just tied a little shoelace bow, tied the middle with some twine. I'm going to go ahead, stick it behind the berry leaves, and then this project is complete.
Angels in the sand, you ready? Doesn't matter, it's Christmas in my heart. And I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas times.
So for this project, I took another one of those twigs from our package from Hobby Lobby, and then I had some greenery in my stash. I just went ahead and cut that down, and I created 3 pieces to add to my twig. So I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those pieces on in a, I guess, descending order. So big on the bottom, medium in the middle, and then small on the top. If you didn't have greenery, you could also use twigs here. You could definitely go out to your yard and use some twigs from your yard if you wanted to. That would give it a really pretty all natural rustic looking ornament if you wanted to go that route. But once I get the greenery glued onto my twig, I went ahead and took some buttons. These also came from Dollar Tree, and I just picked out some of the more neutral brown colors from the container. So I'm going to glue 3 buttons on the bottom, 2 buttons in the middle, and 1 button on top. Once I get the buttons glued on, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to dry brush over the entire ornament. Once I get that all dry brushed, I'm going to take a piece of twine and I'm going to wrap it kind of in the back towards the top for our hanger. And then once I get the hanger on, then this project is complete.
This day with you. Let me give you a Christmas, a moment we'll fill with love and joy. So beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe, baby, with you. I don't need any presents.
I'm just going to use one of these like wood sticks that I picked up at Hobby Lobby for a previous project, and all I'm doing is gluing on these paper straws. So what I did was I took one paper straw and cut it in half, and then I just had one of the buffalo check and one of the plain red the same size, and then I would go up and cut off so many sections of the buffalo check. I just sort of measured as I went along. I didn't use a ruler or anything. I did realize that I sort of ran out of room when I got to the top. It didn't look like a tree. It didn't go taper enough to the top, so I just ended up gluing them onto each other instead of the stick. And once I get them all glued on, I'm just going to take one of these green buttons that I had in this pack, and I'm just going to glue that to the top of the tree for the tree topper. I'm then going to take some green plaid ribbon that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut a strip of it in half and tie it around the bottom of the tree, and then I'm going to use another part of the ribbon and glue it to the top for the hanger. Here's the final look of our tree. It took me about 5 minutes to make it, and it's super cute, and I think it would make a great gift. And we're going to be using pom-poms and a Dollar Tree bulb. I had some vase filler out here too, but the vase filler was a little bit too big for the opening of the bulb, so I decided just to pick out green pom-poms that I already had on hand. They do sell green pom-poms at the Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to just take this heart button, and it was left over from some scrapbooking buttons that I had, and I'm just going to glue that button to the front of our ornament. The last part of this super cute Grinch ornament is just to take some more of that plaid ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to wrap it around the top of the ornament. I did not cut it in half at first because I thought it would be fine just to wrap it around there, but once I got it on there, and it just was a little bit too tall and I didn't like what it looked like, so I went ahead and took it off, cut the ribbon in half, and then glued it back on. So if you're going to recreate this and glue some ribbon at the top, just make sure you cut it in half so it just fits nicely around the top of the bulb. Here is this super cute Grinch ornament, and this was so simple to make, and it would make a super cute gift for that Grinch lover in your family. I'm going to be using cupcake liners. Vase filler is what I had here, and then I changed it out to be a button and some more of that plaid ribbon. So we're just going to take a popsicle stick, and we're going to take a cupcake liner and just fold it in half. I kind of made sure that they weren't totally flush, that there was like a little bit of uneven folding there. That way none of the white from behind of the cupcake liner showed through. And then I'm just going to do that until I have filled up the entire popsicle stick going up, and I just sort of layer them on top of each other. I picked up my cupcake liners at Walmart. They had lots of different options over in the baking area. The Dollar Tree does sell cupcake liners as well, so you not necessarily would have Christmas designs or Christmas colors, but you could customize it to be whatever. And then obviously the grocery store does sell cupcake liners as well. So if this is like a last minute gift and you're already at one of those stores, you can just pick up some cupcake liners, and this is a super easy project for your kids to make. So once we have them all kind of lined up the way that we want them, and I was just kind of going in a green and red pattern, then I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to glue them down on top of each other and then kind of fold them out. And then I take my scissors and I just cut in an upward angle to give it the tree look. As I was cutting these and making this tree, I was thinking this would also make a really cute angel ornament. You could use the cupcake liners for the wings. There's just a lot that you could do with it. So once I have the tree form kind of cut out the way I like it, I'm just going to take my plaid ribbon again, and I am going to do this kind of bow that I guess kind of made up. But what I do is kind of overlap them together, and then I glue the overlapping pieces, and once I have those glued down, I just kind of fold down the top of it to make the bow shape. It's a super easy bow, so if your kids are making this would be something that they could totally recreate, this bow. Once I have the ribbon glued into place, I'm just going to take a white button from the button pack that I had and glue it into the middle of the ribbon. You could also use vase filler here or a bead or anything that you really have on hand to glue in the middle of that, just to give it a little bit of added cuteness. So once we have these all glued together, we're just going to add some jute twine to the back, and then this ornament is complete. I think that these turned out super cute. I made 2 of them, and I think I love the buffalo check one the best. The project is going to be a country wreath ornament. So we're going to start out with this fabric that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I was going for homespun fabric, but I wasn't able to find any, even when I went to Joann. So if you're somebody that shops for the homespun fabric, let me know where you pick it up. This was just in the holiday section at Hobby Lobby. So I'm cutting up at the top just a small little piece and then tearing it down. I want to get all of the fringe and the frays to give it that old kind of country look. Once I have all the strips, and I think I cut about 5, I'm going to cut them in half, and then I'm going to start tying them around my mason jar lid. So this is super simple. I just go around, tie it in half, and then push it into the next piece. I do this all the way around the mason jar lid, and then I go ahead and give it a nice trim just so that I don't have any super long frays, and I get a really good circular shape for my wreath. So this is a super easy project. Even kiddos could help with this one if you wanted to have them make some ornaments. So then I had some ribbon. This was just ribbon I had left over. You can see I have a pretty jagged cut there. I just cut a bigger piece of ribbon in half. I wasn't too worried about it. I'm making a messy bow, and by the time I get all the pieces on there, you can't even tell. I think it is time for me to have some new scissors. So once I get all the pieces together for my bow, I'm just going to take some twine, tie it in the middle of this bow, and fluff it out. Once I get that tied on there, I clip off any excess twine so that it's not hanging around, and then I'm ready to attach it to my ornament. So I'm going to I played around with it for a little bit, tried to decide if I wanted it at the top or the bottom. I decided the top, so I'm just going to use some hot glue and attach it to the fabric up at the top. Once I get this part attached to the wreath, of course I need a finishing touch, and there's nothing more country than buttons. So I took a more like a darker red country color, and I'm going to glue that into the middle. Once I have it glued into the middle, then I'm ready to apply a hanger to the back of the ornament. I'm just using some twine here. I go ahead and make a knot in my twine, glue it to the back, and because I want this to have a finished look, I take one more button, glue it over the knot so you get kind of a fun look in the back, and then this ornament is complete.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
For this project, we're going to be creating a country candy cane ornament. I found these plastic candy canes over at Hobby Lobby in the miniature area. I think if they are not in the miniature area, they are in the red and white ornament area. They come in a package of 48, so you get quite a few. You can do several different projects. If you missed my rustic reindeer wreath, I'll post that up here in the cards. I also made some candy cane ornaments to go in the wreath. So all we're going to do is use our hot glue, and these are just some leftover fabric pieces I had from the wreath. If you don't have any leftover, you can certainly tear some more of the material and make some longer ones. The nice thing about the country look and the fray look is that once we piece them together, you really can't tell, and it gives it character anyway. So I'm just going to keep gluing here my pieces one at a time. So this one goes about halfway up. Then I'm going to take another smaller piece and just keep going. Once I get it all wrapped together, I'm going to take two of them and place them back to back, and now I'm taking some twine and I'm wrapping the twine around to make that into the middle. So I made another messy bow with that same ribbon and taking another button. These buttons all came from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue another brownish red button into the middle here. I went ahead and used all the same ribbon for these just because they made them look like a grouping. You wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to, but I went ahead and glued another smaller red button on top of the brownish red button just to give it a layered look, and then again twine in the back for my hanger, a button over my knot there to give it a more finished look, and then this project is complete.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows in the rain is pouring.
So sticking with our candy canes, we're going to be making a country heart ornament. Nothing says country more to me than hearts. So I took two of the fabric wrapped candy canes and followed the process just like the candy cane ornament, and now I face them towards each other and I'm gluing one on top of the other to make the heart. So this makes a super cute heart. It's like one of those skinny long hearts, and there's a lot you could do with these. You could even just group them together, tie some ribbon around them, and put them in a basket. So once I get them glued together, I'm taking some of this black and red buffalo check ribbon. It came from the Dollar Tree. I'm using it as the hanger, and I glued it together down towards the bottom of the heart. Once I glued that on, I went ahead and took some more of that ribbon, made a messy bow only with that ribbon, tied it off with some twine, and now I'm going to use another button. I love these buttons from the Dollar Tree because you get so many different colors and you can use them for so many projects, and they're only $1. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that button into the middle, and then once I have that, it is complete.
Christmas in my heart, but
Our next project is going to be a fabric wrapped ornament. So we're just taking a styrofoam ball that I had in my stash. You can pick these up at Hobby Lobby. Sometimes the Dollar Tree has the bigger ones. Joann's also has styrofoam balls. You could also use a plastic ornament for this as well, but I'm taking some more of the strips and I'm just going to wrap them kind of in a crisscross pattern. So I go like down the middle, kind of like I'm cutting pizza, I guess. But then I'm going to go around the middle again so that I have kind of a, I don't know if you'd call it a cross pattern there, but I'm going to glue it up at the top, and then I'm going to continue doing that all around the ball. This is stringy again because again we ripped it, so once you get it on there, if you feel like you have too many strings, you can totally just trim those off. And that's what I did when I had a couple that were just a little bit too long. But I just keep wrapping until I don't have any of the white showing on my styrofoam ball. So these ornaments were super fun to make. So even I looked at it kind of like the reason I made them all pretty much the same color. If this was a theme you were going for, or maybe you had like a cabin theme, or maybe you have a cabin and you have a tree there, this would make such adorable ornaments for that tree. Another thing would be if you're somebody just starting out and maybe doesn't have any Christmas tree ornaments, this is super fun because these are really easy to make. You can make a lot of them at the same time, and then you can totally have a fun, unique Christmas tree all decorated for your first time. It would go great in a small tree, great in a large tree, so the sky is the limit here, and you can customize it to your own colors. So then I took some twine, tied it in a knot, and I just kind of made an indentation into my styrofoam ball. You could leave it just like that. I wrapped it with some twine. I felt like it was a little plain, and like I said, I kind of wanted them all to match, so I made another messy bow with that same ribbon, and then another button, and then this ornament is complete.
Promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas times. Oh, and the sun said it is just getting better on a blanket.
So we are going to make one more fabric ball ornament. This time we are not going to cut it in strips. We're going to cut just a square of our fabric and wrap it around our styrofoam ball. If you wanted to use a Christmas ornament here, a clear plastic one, they have those at the Dollar Tree, and that would also work. Once I get my fabric all wrapped around my styrofoam ball, I take some twine and I'm just going to tie it in a knot here and make sure that it's secure around my styrofoam ball. I do cut off any excess twine there, and then I go ahead and take my scissors and trim around the top to give it a more uniform pattern. Once I get that all trimmed off, I fluff it out at the top. You could leave the ornament just like this if you wanted to, only just adding a hanger there in the middle. I decided to tie a twine bow around this. I feel like my twine was too thin and I didn't like how it looked. So I'm thinking maybe some jute cord here would have been better. I might try that next time. But once I get this glued on, I decide to add a couple buttons as well. So I take a brownish red button again, I tie that in the middle, and then I glue that in the middle, and then I glue a green button on top of that. I'm also making my hanger here, so I just tie some jute twine into a knot again, and I'm going to glue it into the middle of our fabric up here at the top. At the very end, I decided to go back and put some of the ribbon that we were using in the other ornaments just to make it a little bit more cohesive as a grouping of ornaments, and that would be a total optional step if you wanted to do that. And then this project is complete.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
This project is super simple. I'm going to take a styrofoam ball, roll it in some Mod Podge, and then I'm going to roll it in some fake snow. All of the supplies for this one came from the Dollar Tree. Once I'm done, I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to glue those styrofoam balls into the cupcake liners. I have a large one and a small one. Once I get them glued in, I'm going to take some twine, glue the twine at the top for the hanger, add a berry, and then this project is complete.
We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas time.
This project is also super simple. All we're going to do is take a candy stick from the baking area at Hobby Lobby, and we're going to apply some hot glue to the stick. Make sure you're using some kind of finger protectors, that way you're not burning yourself when you go to glue the batting on. I picked up my batting a long time ago from Hobby Lobby, but you can also pick up batting at Walmart, and they have it over in the sewing area. All you're going to do is attach the desired amount of batting that you want to your stick. Remember, cotton candy is fluffy and there's usually an abundance of it when you get it, so you want to make this as full as possible. Next, I'm using some acrylic paint. I chose to use pink and blue because that reminds me of the fair, but you could totally do any color you want here. Red and green would also be super cute. All you're going to do is take a paintbrush and dab it onto the batting. So it's okay if some of the white is showing because cotton candy is not a solid color, so you want it to look like a cloud and fluffy. So I just do that around the whole stick, and I do make a blue one as well. Now we're ready to wrap it. I'm just using saran wrap here. You could have, there's a variety of things you could use. Plastic bags, any kind of like goodie bags over in the treat section at Hobby Lobby. They also sell those at Walmart and I think at the Dollar Tree, but I just chose to use saran wrap. So I wrap the top of it with my saran wrap. I'm using twine at the bottom. You could leave it with just twine. I went ahead and added ribbons that matched my cotton candy. This is really customizable to whatever you might like. I go ahead and add some twine to the top along with my other ribbon, and then this project is complete.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having it.
For this project, we're taking another one of those candy sticks. I cut this one in half, and then I'm just going to shove each part of the stick into the styrofoam ball. These styrofoam balls came from the Dollar Tree. They are the smaller size. If you want to make these bigger, you could totally use a bigger styrofoam ball. I decided to just put some hot glue there at the end just to make sure that the stick stayed in place, and then I'm ready to use my fabric. So this buffalo check fabric came from Hobby Lobby over in their like remnant fabric area that they have for sale, and then the green plaid ribbon plaid material came from the Dollar Tree. Once I have the material wrapped around the styrofoam ball, I'm just using some twine and I'm going to tie it off to give it the sucker look. You could use ribbon here, you could use any kind of ribbon to match your fabric. I just went with twine because I like twine. But anyway, anything you wanted to use there would be fine. I'm using a piece of paper clip that I cut with my wire cutters to insert into the styrofoam ball. Then I'm going to add twine and ribbon, and then this project is complete.
We'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows in the rain is pouring.
For this project, I'm going to be using those styrofoam balls from the Dollar Tree again. I'm going to paint one full styrofoam ball with my truffle chalk paint, and then my second styrofoam ball, I'm only going to paint half of it so it gives the look of whipped cream on the top. Once they've dried, I'm going to go ahead and use some hot glue and glue them together. Now these styrofoam balls ended up being slightly smaller than I wanted them to be, and so they don't give the look of ice cream, which is what I was going for. But they do give a super cute look of like a duo of chocolates, and so I decided to just keep going with it. So once I get those glued into the cupcake liner, I'm using some confetti that I got from the Dollar Tree, or not the Dollar Tree, I'm sorry, from Hobby Lobby. These are green, red, and white, and I'm just going to glue them to the top to give it the look of sprinkles for a sundae. I went ahead and used another berry from my berry pick and stuck it into the top of my ornament to give it a cherry on top. Now I'm using another paper clip as the topper to hang, and I'm just going to cut it in half with my wire cutters and bend it down and stick it in the styrofoam ball. It ends up looking kind of like a giant staple. I decided to go ahead and add some red sparkly ribbon to this one to hang it on the tree, and then this project is complete.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside.
I hope you found tons of inspiration in today's video and that you're inspired to go out and do some Christmas crafting of your own. If you enjoyed this video, check out these videos up here at the top, and as always, wherever you are in your journey is a perfect place to start, and I will see you in my next video.